So, welcome to Bridgewater. I'm Marcus, Curator here. Today's a really exciting day. I'm privileged enough to be planting the first heritage pear tree in our orchard. The whole orchard covers about 3.5 acres. Over the next couple of months we'll be putting in 100 trees through this area. This is the first of many. There's 15 pears to go in total. This one is particularly special. It's a bit of a mystery as to what its name is. It's either called Nouveau Poitou or Bourbion. We're not quite sure. We're still waiting for Jim Arbery, our specialist, to tell us which of the two it is. This particular pear was growing against the wall just over that section down at the bottom over there for probably something like 170 years. We pruned it heavily a couple of years ago, got some signwood growing away off the tree, took some cuttings from that signwood, sent them away to Worcestershire to Frank Matthews, the grower there. He's grown on some plants, and this is one of the best specimens that he's sent back to us. He sent us about 15 of these back, but I particularly like the look of this one. It's growing on a rootstock called Kirschenschale, so eventually this will form a huge tree. The tree that we're planting today will be here, fingers crossed, for the next 200 to 300 years. So this is a really, really important part of the heritage, not only of Bridgewater, but of fruit for the whole of the UK. So that's what I'm on today, planting this tree. I've already dug the hole. It's approximately 1 foot deep. Essentially, it's as deep as this air pot is. I've forked over the hole at the bottom. I've dug a square hole to help the roots penetrate through the sides. There's a bit of a debate, or there was a debate about round holes versus square holes. The current thinking is that with the square sides, the root penetration will be better in the corners particularly, and there's less probability of the plant going round and round in circles. Similarly, current advice is not to apply any fertilisers into the bottom of hole, nor organic matter. Something I was trained on 20 years ago. I did all of those things. I did a round hole, I put in fertiliser, and I put in organic matter, but we're not going to do any of that today. I've added a small amount of grit to the base of this hole just to allow for a bit of better drainage in there. And I've got some mycorrhizal fungi, some root grow, which I'll apply as well. So the moment of truth, this tree has been air potted. So one of the many casualties of lockdown was the fact that we obviously delayed the planting of the orchard. We would have been doing this in late spring, but the goalpost moves a little bit with COVID-19. And we had to defer the planting. Actually, the trees will be better for it for this autumn insertion that we're doing. And this plant that originally arrived in a 5-litre pot has been air potted up. And I'm really pleased to say that it's rooted all the way around. So you can just see the tips of the roots that have penetrated all the way around as I spin it through. So this is a really, really well rooted in plant, and it's just perfect for going. It hasn't rooted and started circling inside the air pot. It's just perfect for getting in. Okay, so the roots are good. I'll get the tree into the hole. I just need to check the levels. So I've got a bamboo cane here just to see what the level's like. So that's just fractionally low at the moment. I just need to put in a small amount of extra soil in there. Some in the truck here, ready? Chop it up a bit, spread it around, apply it size 10 just to push it down a bit. Let's have another go. That looks better. Yeah, that's pretty much spot on now, all the way through. You can see the old line, and I'm dead in line with the old nursery line that we've got on there. You can see the little bit of moss growing around the top. So I'll just pop it out again. All things in and out, in and out. I've got this root grow, the mycorrhizal fungi. I'll put a little bit in the bottom of the hole, and then I'll just apply a small amount around here. So these mycorrhizal fungi will form a symbiotic relationship with the roots of the trees and just help its uptake of moisture and nutrients. We'll get a better tree in the long run just for applying that little bit of magic there. There we go, checker again. I'm happy with that. That's good. Okay, so next job, getting some soil in around the sides just to firm her up. So the soil that we're putting in, Bridgewater, we're quite blessed because we have various soil profiles across site. The bottom end is a peaty loam. The middle section that we're in now is clay, and then at the top end of site we're on sand. That's one of the reasons that Bridgewater was chosen as the RHS's fifth garden, in that diversity of soil types means that we can grow a wider diversity of plants. But this is perfect for hungry plants in the Rosaceae family, of which pears, apples, plums, etc. are. So in terms of the soil type that we're putting the tree into, this should be perfect. Bit of brick, get that out. Spread them around a bit. Again, a bit more healing in. I think that's straight. Looks pretty straight to me from most angles. Sometimes if they're slightly squint, when you come on to apply the stake, you can pull them square, but I'm pretty happy with that at the moment. It always amazes me when you dig a hole and then you try and refill it, how much extra there seems to be over and above what you'd expect. Obviously you've got the gain of the pot itself, but it always seems to be a bit more than that. There we go, that's great, lovely. So I'm going to fill this up nearly to the top, and then I'm just going to leave a little bit of an area sunken for now. Get a watering can, water it in well, let that soak away, then I'll top dress it, get the stake in and do all the finishing touches. So the water's gone on now, that's all soaked in really nicely. Obviously we're in the autumn, so there'll be no further need for watering on there. I can just get the last of this topsoil in, just to bring up the levels. I'll firm it in a minute. I've still got to stake the tree, and I still, of course, have got to put a mulch mat round it, and then a bit of mulch over the top of that just to disguise it. So I'm just keeping an eye on that collar around the base of the tree there. I can see where the moss is. There's just a thin band of moss around the base, which just gives me a good guide to make sure I'm not leaving it either too proud or burying it too deep relative to the original nurseryman's line. You can just see it here. Always slightly trickier planting on a slope than planting on the flat, but I think we've got that about right. Again, just one last little firming. I don't want to put too much weight on there though, or I'll compact the soil now that it's so moist underneath, but just a light firming of that last top dressing that I've put on there. Stake. So this is a piece of hazel, good hard wood, will last a long time in the ground. This tree will probably be staked for at least 2 years, maybe up to 4 years, 3 years as an average. Now when you're staking a tree, a smaller tree like this one, low staking is always best. So I'm going to be driving in the stake around about here. I'm pointing it into the general winds that we get, which is the sou'wester, and it's the sou'wester across most of the country. As the wind blows through, the tree, which will be tied to the stake, will pull on the stake. There'll be a buffer to stop it rubbing against it. And by pointing it into the wind, as the tree pulls the stake, it'll drive the stake further in. If you do it the other way, it'll pull the stake out. So it's really important to face it into the prevailing wind, which I've done here. Key tip. We're right on the top of a slope here, so we're quite exposed. In the fullness of time, as the shelter belts come in, it'll be less windy on here, but I'd anticipate some quite fierce winds through here potentially for the next few autumns. We're about right there. That feels pretty firm. So I've got a roll of tree cable tie here. I'll just cut off a length. I've got a rubberized spacer to stop the tree when it's moving in the wind, rubbing, chafing, taking off bark from the tree. So the trick is I need to make this tight enough to hold the tree, but not so tight that it constricts it. Now, tree ties like this do need checking at least twice in the growing season. This will be fine now through until next spring, but probably in mid to late spring and maybe again in late summer, all being well with this tree shooting away and growing as we hope it will. Okay, so that's tight enough. I'm just popping a nail in to hold it tight. I don't want to hammer it in so far that I can't release it. So another tip is just to leave enough so you can get your claw in. Next time, that's good to go. I'll just neaten it up a little bit there. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is apply a mulch mat. Now this is a biodegradable mulch mat. It's jute. I have some biodegradable pegs as well, made from bamboo. So this will sit around the collar of the tree, the base of the tree there, through the ground, get pegged down all the way around. I'll turn in the corners fractionally. It'll help keep moisture in and suppress weeds. It's a good idea to put a mulch mat like this down for the first at least 2 years of the tree's life, preferably 3, up to 4. It just gives the tree a chance to really establish, get its roots in and get away from the competition. After 3 or 4 years, it's fine. You don't need to have these in place anymore. The tree is established enough that the grass, the turf around it can push into its space. But we'll ensure that these are kept clear of weeds for the next 2, 3, perhaps up to 4 years. Right, pegs. So everything gets pegged. Now the area that I'm working off at the moment, these boards, is to protect the grass and wildflower seed that we've just sown. We've put on a honeybee mix through this area. It's about 80% grasses, but it has a specific mix of wildflowers and the other 20% of the seed mix, which are beneficial for bees. One of the lovely things about heritage orchards, traditional orchards, is that they're normally associated with an apiary, some beehives. We intend next year in February to build an apiary just over in the bottom corner over there and start off with 2 or 3 hives, just to make sure that everything is fertilised. Okie dokes, planted, watered, staked, mulch mat down. Now the only thing is with these mulch mats, they're no things of beauty. So the last job is just to put some bark chips. So this is bark chips that our woodland team have created through the operations that they're undertaking at the moment through Lower Middlewood. It just top dresses everything off and finishes it. I just need to again be a bit careful around the collar of the tree, not apply it too deep there. So I'm applying a couple of inches of bark chips over the top of the jute mat all the way around, making it look a bit more circular than the slightly square shaped mat that I've put underneath. but I need to be really careful around the collar of the tree not to bury it too deeply there, because if that sits wet and damp over winter with all this bark up against it, there's a chance that it will rot off. So just at the base of the tree there, I put a tiny, just a few millimeters just to disguise the jute, and then spread the rest out.